have taught her. New world order, a normal life is boring.
Chemtrails are largely dismissed in the scientific community as condensation trails, which form when engine exhaust meets extremely cold air.
Trying to smile again. Lives are lost, children are suffering, wearing a mask to stay alive. Around the world, we're closing borders. COVID-19's on the rise. A new order behind closed doors. The storm will
In the documentary, What in the World Are They Spraying?, Edward Griffin explains the difference between contrails and SAI, what some people call chemtrails. A word that'll give you a powerful sting if you use it, due to the way it's been labeled a conspiracy. If nothing else, know this: a jet contrail that was pure condensation would not start and stop like this. Also, because they have metal nanoparticulates in them, as Keith and Ship revealed, jet trails are electromagnetically conductive. On the ground, networks of powerful microwave radio frequency from NEXRAD, which is Next Generation Radar networks, can be transmitted to manipulate air mass. When this happens, it will make unnaturally precise geometric patterns of the clouds, directing the metallic nanoparticles sprayed from SAI, the way a magnet directs iron shavings. Up until the 1940s, airplanes didn't leave lingering jet contrails behind them. But today, military jets used for SAI appear nearly invisible from below, though their jet trails are very visible. SAI technology was added, however, to commercial aircraft in recent years, and is now more prevalent than ever in the sky. The disbursement patterns can be found here. The nozzles themselves look like this. Here are images of SAI ballast barrels, which are notably different from the water barrels used for passenger simulation on test flights. Note the difference in the SAI tanks versus the water tanks, which look like unnamed beer kegs. If the trails were just condensation, it should also be known that 90% of the air that passes through an airplane turbine engine is not even combusted, which is what creates the heat that results in condensation. So, with regular jet fuel, condensation happens only in rare circumstances. Can you imagine if automobiles left this thick contrail haze? There would be no visibility on the road. Over the years, evidence of disbursement has become more and more discreet, as airline companies now have strict non-disclosure agreements. WikiLeaks made it known, however, that airlines receive billions of dollars from the government, so there's no doubt they'll do whatever is required of them.
We are not talking small or big. It has nothing to do with size. Dependently through which part of the respiratory tract air passes and where the virus is and what we do, whether we breathe, we speak, or we sing, there are different size of aerosols generated, different concentrations of them. And then if they pass through the area of the respiratory tract where there's virus, they also pick up virus on the way. So this cloud which stays around in the air, it may contain the virus. And if that's the case, they stay suspended in the air, and they can stay suspended in the air for quite a long time until they are somehow removed from the air. And in places where ventilation is insufficient, they can stay for a very long time. They can easily stay in the air for a few hours.
So when we talk about aerosol transmission, we talk about it is also equivalent to what we term as airborne transmission. And in these instances, usually the particle size, the virus suspended in the particles is less than 10 micrometers. Whereas when you talk about droplet, they tend to be larger and usually more than 20 micrometers. So what that equates to is that when you have larger size, the distance that they travel is much shorter, and whereas for aerosol or airborne transmission, the distance can be much further.
No matter how much scientists say that SAI is only being considered for the future, the truth is staring us in the face. It's happening now. It's been going on for a long time. The atmospheric scientist mentioned earlier, Ken Caldeira, admitted that over 200 tests had been conducted over the human population without their knowledge or consent. Another admission about the effect of airplane contrails was published in Smithsonian Magazine, where it was presented as though the decrease in solar radiation were purely coincidental. This is likely a part of the intention to educate and gradually ease into disclosing the current climate engineering strategies, as the United Nations, Keith, and others want to do. We've come to accept these strange tic-tac-toe sky patterns as normal. In fact, even as the U.S. continues to deny existence of such programs, in March of 2019, the USA and Saudi Arabia refused to agree to efforts made by the UN to improve the world's understanding of potential efforts to lace the sky with sunlight-reflecting aerosols. It appears these world powers have their own agenda and are uninterested in yielding the control these powerful technologies provide them. Now that you understand these concepts, we invite you to pay attention to the trails in the sky, how they hold their shape, and then finally over hours dissipate to create thin, white cirrus clouds that help keep the climate cool. Sometimes you can see the effect of microwave energy as they assume unnatural and perfect lines and geometrical patterns. Even if you choose not to investigate what's happening above you, you can't help but notice how odd it is to have propaganda of denial forced in your face. So how does all this relate to extreme weather? Because weather modification is almost entirely omitted from public discussion, it's easy to assume that all weather, including extreme weather, is normal. Seeing as all the planet is connected, however, weather engineering is never totally isolated. One area affects everywhere. So, it makes sense how an extreme temperature in one area may lead to its opposite in a neighboring area. According to the many sources shared above, there's a network of radio frequency transmitters that are spread across many countries and are used to manipulate precipitation and dry air mass. The common narrative says that these NEXRAD transmitters merely read the weather, but radar sourced from weather modification facilities shows different. revealing how they actually transmit microwave energy. When these methods are employed, you can see proof of the technology in the perfect circular radius on these unmodified radar screens. So, these facilities direct high-powered microwave radiation frequencies, which blast the metal nanoparticulates, aluminum, and barium and others, as Keith discussed. This makes air mass become electromagnetically charged and causes an electrical chain reaction that dramatically heats the ionosphere up to 10,000 degrees, making winds rapidly spin, according to the hemisphere it's in, and then creating a circular high, or sometimes low, pressure dome. These fry the affected areas underneath with heat waves and deny an area precipitation. Just like a magnet directs iron shavings, precipitation and heat can be directed, simply shut on or off. In similar fashion, when precipitation is wanted, a process called chemical ice nucleation can be used to engineer a storm, often resulting in the unnaturally textured and oversized hail. This hail is anything but pure water vapor. Could technology really be creating these freak storms? As mentioned, the patents for all these methods are viewable. Just see for yourself. So when these strategies are implemented to create precipitation or heat, a neighboring area will pay the cost with an opposite extremity. If this sounds far-fetched, do you think it's a mere coincidence that in 2015, the United States government put a universal gag order on employees of the National Weather Service, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and the U.S. Department of Commerce? But one of the most shocking aspects of SAI geoengineering is its disregard for the effects metals have on life. Aluminum does not occur by itself in nature, only combined with other elements or compounds. Now, however, it's being detected everywhere, in our fresh water, our oceans, even on the highest mountain peaks. With the admission of its use in SAI, it's shocking to read the dangers of aluminum. Dr. Russell Blaylock is a brain neurosurgeon who has tried to make public the effects that metal toxicity is having on humans. He points out that human brains show more and more aluminum, particularly in neurological disorders like Alzheimer's, ALS, Parkinson's, and multiple sclerosis. Dr. Blaylock says these conditions are not due to the aging of the population, but that they are due to toxins like aluminum, including that in vaccines, adding, "No one's telling the truth." He also says that when these metals, aluminum, barium, and stadium, are combined, they're especially toxic. The most damaging result is cognitive dysfunction, including memory loss. The smaller the nanoparticle, the more likely it is to cross the blood barrier to enter the brain, where it stays. Blaylock is not alone. Long ago, neurobiologists determined the connection between aluminum and Alzheimer's. Understanding that SAI could be contributing to an epidemic number of cognitive, neurological, and autoimmune disorders in our population, Blaylock has even gone so far as to say this: "I pray that the pilots who are spraying this dangerous substance fully understand that they are destroying the lives and the health of their families as well."